what is the absolute key thing I've noticed? New hunters coming to the state of Iowa to hunt public ground, and they're going to show up and they're going to hunt the jam of the jam, the 5th through the 15th of November. What's the first thing that happens? And sometimes they come in groups of 2, 3, and I've seen as many as groups of 5. The first day, it is like a written law. This is what's going to happen. Everybody goes in 2, 3, or however many of them, 5 different directions, and they walk that off like you guys did in February and March. Mistake number 1, 2, and 3, before the engine block on the vehicle cools down. Well, we're walking around looking for sign. And there's a part of me that, I don't know them. I don't want to step on their toes or offend them. But I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, you do realize it's November 6th. You guys all rolled into town yesterday. The sign is done going, boys. Everything you've seen from October 10th, October 25th, every rub that started the end of September, throw it right in the garbage. It's over. Now it's time to get out on a point and get in there 45 minutes before first light, lock up, post up, and you're going to stick it out for the day.
Lights,
camera,
follow the trail.
ready to shoot.
If you know where a deer's bedding and you know where he's eating, that deer should be dead.
Camera.
If you're passive on a deer, what you're doing is you're teaching them.
I've got 30 bucks in the Michigan record book. Everyone but one has had at least one previous wound on his body. Some had as many as 4.
The Exodus Podcast,
your source for all things whitetail.
Welcome back to the Exodus Podcast. You are listening to Chad. I am sitting in the office with Cameron's by my side. Not by my side, but he's at the table, joining the conversation, Cameron Durr. But we are joined by, 3, 4, 5 time offender, longtime brand friend, going on probably 7 years since almost pretty damn close to the inception of Exodus. I remember you walking up to a
trade show.
Yeah, first ATA.
Yes.
And you said something about going bowling with a camera. If I was going to go bowling with a trail camera, this is what I would throw down the lane. and
yep.
And it's you stuck ever since. So Today we are joined by Jason Michael, our good friend. Some people call him the Whitetail Gypsy, the couch surfer. Done a lot of content with him. It really relates to a lot of people. So we're excited to have you in the office. First time in the office, right?
First time
in the
ever
studio.
here. Yes.
And what brings you through Northeast Ohio?
Just a broken record heading now this time to Southern Ohio to go back over some ground, relook at some trail cameras, maybe make a set, do some work on the property. I help some landowners there with a home that they have. They're from New York, and just taking advantage of a good weather weekend. Had a lot of rain down there, and got to do some mowing, a little chainsaw work. But yeah, definitely going to check up on the whitetails in Southern Ohio this weekend.
Very good, man. Season is rapidly approaching. You got about a month here in Ohio. Things will kick off. Today's the 25th. Yeah,
26th.
Yeah, we got about a month.
Yeah.
So 4 weeks, making some final preparations. I think everybody here at the office is in kind of the same boat. Final prep mode. Cameron's leaving for
North Dakota.
I'll let you say. Yeah, go.
Yeah, leave Tuesday for North Dakota. So their season opens on a Friday every year. This year it's September 2nd. September 2nd this year.
It's that Friday.
Yeah. So I'm headed out there. I went last year. And I'm going back to the same area, hoping for velvet this year. Mm-hmm. So last year, season opened September 5th. This year, it opened September 2nd. Got 3 days extra.
Right on the breaking point. And it's usually right there, and you'll start to lose it. It's a chance you could shoot one where the velvet's actually hanging.
I killed that deer there last year, September 6th, just out of velvet.
Yep.
So, yeah, that's it for me. So season prepping is like, I'm behind the 8 ball, but I'm prepping.
Yep. Flying or driving?
Driving.
Excellent. Have your gear with you.
Yep.
So I guess, what are we going to talk about? What do you want to talk about today, Jason?
Oh, my word. I guess, what are we at here? So we're coming up on September 1 for the majority of the country. Let's assume October 1's a safe opener for a lot of the states.
Yep, absolutely.
Right on the head of it. But, as we move forward, I'm not really here to pick on any one particular style of hunting or a tip or a tactic directly, with kicking a dead horse there on certain tactics, but more just to motivate them, give the listener hopes. Like I was saying earlier, we got a lot of guys that are teenagers or in their early 20s, and so much is on the Instagrams and the Facebooks, just really strong the last 2, 3, 4 years versus looking back at it 10 years ago. And it's easy to look at it and go, man, look who's killing what, and look who's doing this, and look who has that. And I don't got much. And I promise you, if there's such a thing as a bow hunter coming from what you would call the ghetto, it's me. Just didn't have much to work with, didn't have much equipment, didn't have the finances. And even on my very last Instagram post I did several weeks ago in Southern Ohio, I was walking around to do that. And you may have 100 acres, you may have 10 acres, or you could be like me and have no acreage and just make the most of what you got. So my main goal through this whole podcast today and moving forward for everybody this season is just be strong, stay motivated, be super, super positive, formulate the best plan you can and stick to it. Don't get there and have this plan formulated and then all of a sudden, well, I'm going to do this, now I'm going to do that. And once you pull away from that plan, I think I remembered an individual in Southern Ohio years ago that said, next year when I go back, I know I'm off a couple days, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th. I'm not moving from that stand.
Yep.
You may have went a couple days earlier. We've all done it. I'm the first one to throw myself under the bus, and I have made
He's talking about me.
many mistakes. And you did your hunt before your hunt started.
Yep.
What you originally planned your hunt to start.
Got burned out and left when the dates were supposed to be there.
Yeah, a day early.
Yep. And we've all done that. And I just want all the listeners to just give themselves a chance and just stick to your plan, formulate the best plan you can, and do the absolute very best with what you got.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think the couple contingencies there is make sure you're prepping enough to have a
solid plan.
Right? I mean, it's there's an old saying, plan your work and work your plan. So I think that comes in the same scenario, but within your plan, whatever that is for all of you guys listening, you need to go into some of the stuff with an open mind. I mean, there's so many variables we talk about in the whitetail woods. Maybe it's habitat. Maybe it's pressure. Maybe it's, if you're a guy that's hunting a specific deer and something falls through, like you got to have within that plan, you got to have some contingency plans as well and be smart enough to realize like, okay, I am working my plan. It's not working. Maybe let me try something else. Or maybe it's just a matter of I need a mental refresh. I need to take a break because I've been there.
Oh, geez.
At some point in the season, you start to go through the mental agony, especially in the big woods. The big woods is tough, where there's low deer density. You're not seeing a lot of stuff. It's the mental side of it can be pretty difficult too. So just having some contingency plans in place or being open-minded enough to know when to make those changes, I think becomes a very big deal inside of your working plan that you have.
Here's a perfect scenario. You personally, this is your first trip this coming year ever to the state of Iowa, correct?
With a tag in my pocket. Yep.
With a tag in your pocket
Yep.
to actually bow hunt.
Correct.
You got a time frame set up aside.
Yep.
Bow's dialed in. You know where you're going. You got the basics of it down. Some things are going to change till then, but you got a basic plan. Day 1, 2, 3, and 4. It could rain every day. And 2 days after that, 40 and 50 mile an hour wind gusts. It's the Midwest. Talk about a major wrench thrown into the plan. And you just have to be ready to back out, digress, may have to drive home and cancel for a week and go back and pick up on the end of another week. It's always going to be ever changing, but you just got to be ready for something. And people wait a long time for that tag.
Yeah.
And then they go there and then they're throwing that curveball and then some. So just got to be ready for that.
One of the things that I struggle with personally is putting a lot of pressure on myself headed into a season. So I'm in the same boat as Chad this year. First time ever going to Iowa with a tag in my pocket. It's the coveted tag.
Both got them. Yep.
It's the one that you've been waiting for so far, like so long. One time, you have one shot. So I put a lot of pressure on myself this time of year. What are some things that you do? I mean, it's easier said than done. Be positive, be positive, be positive. What are some of the things you're doing this time of year to make sure that you can have that positive mindset?
Trying to bring the majority of the listeners into that very question. You are going to be on private.
No.
50-50?
Well, we have a couple trips planned. So obviously we're a little more flexible with what
options.
we do.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So we went out and pre-scouted some public.
Yep.
We have cameras on public.
Even after the Iowa Deer Classic, you guys were walking the next day.
100%.
In February 1st.
Cameron's actually been back since. So we have done our pre-scouting on some of that public. So the plan is to go in and hunt public. And then if it doesn't work out, we both have some private land opportunities if we need it.
Same thing. You're going on the same trip. You're doing the same routine together. Or are you a separate entity?
The first, the October stuff will be together.
Yep.
And then the private land stuff will be separate.
So aside from that, let's assume too, a fair amount of the guys, I know, it's all I've ever known. So I'm 49 years old. Let's assume a lot of them though are going to do what you're going to start out doing, the public land routine. I just went through this last night on the phone in a conversation. And one guy asked a little bit of a question. I know him well, and I took it maybe a little too far, just over explaining it. But I think one of the biggest key things, if someone said, what is the absolute, at the end of the story, they saved the punchline for then. I'm just going to hit it now. What is the absolute key thing I've noticed? New hunters coming to the state of Iowa, to hunt public ground, and they're going to show up and they're going to hunt the jam of the jam, the 5th through the 15th of November. What's the first thing that happens? And sometimes they come in groups of 2, 3, and I've seen as many as groups of 5. The first day, it is like a written law. This is what's going to happen. Everybody goes in 2, 3, or however many of them, 5 different directions, and they walk that off like you guys did in February and March. Mistake number 1, 2, and 3, before the engine block on the vehicle cools down. Well, we're walking around looking for sign. And there's a part of me that, I don't know them. I don't want to step on their toes or offend them. But I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, you do realize it's November 6th. You guys all rolled into town yesterday. The sign is done going, boys. Everything you've seen from October 10th, October 25th, every rub that started in the end of September, throw it right in the garbage. It's over. Now it's time to get out on a point and get in there 45 minutes before first light, lock up, post up, and you're going to stick it out for the day. So if you have, for example, 100 acres to hunt, or if you just pretending, block that off, hunt 5 acres over here and hunt maybe 8 acres over here. Don't rabbit this out. And people are like, yeah, but them deer will go back into play in a day or two. The 4 points, the 6 points, and the smaller, tight little basket rack 2.5-year-old 8 points, they sure will. And mama with her 2 little ones, you'll go back in there the next day and probably get them. We're coon hunters. So they've done studies on them deer, and we go in at night and do this and that. We're busting turkey flocks in November and December off the limb at 11 at night, and we're moving deer around. The dogs are running deer. Go back in that same spot the next morning, and you'll see a couple deer. But you're hunting him, and you're there to do the best job. And if even your target goal is, and let's be real, a public land hunt, if you could go in there the second week of November and it's your first tag in Iowa, and let's say you're still a new hunter, you've only been hunting 5, 6, 7 years or so, and you come out of there with a 130-inch 8-point, please call me so I can help you drag that out, because we're going to take some incredible photos. It is a big deal. Yeah. It is a big deal. It's an overlooked. The art is lost of what's going on. In your defense, Chad, what you were saying when you started here, it plays into the same thing with this individual that's doing this public land hunt. Might be Southern Indiana, might be the big forest in Southern Illinois down there in the bottom. They may be going to the Daniel Boone National Forest, which is like 80,000 some acres over in eastern Kentucky. There just doesn't get talked about much. Great place to go. And they're just going to go in there and, so to say, junk it up. But like you say, don't get defeated. And one of the other things is too, and I joke about this, they're great kids, they mean well, but it's just my term because it's showing I'm the old guy now. All the 20-year-old flat brimmers, great kids, they mean well, they're having fun, and they're out there with all this high-end equipment, and they're going in circles. Thumbs every night, sitting at the supper table. I'll see them. They're in the Chinese restaurant, or they're in at the pizza place. They're eating thumbs. Oh, look at this one. Everybody's just getting defeated. Man, they're like, man, I haven't seen nothing. You looked at 30 good pitchers out of 30,000 guys in the Midwest. And it's just like, just put it away. Just let it go. You do you. That's what I said in my last little Instagram post down there in Southern Ohio about 3 weeks ago. No matter what bow you shoot, no matter how many stickers you have on your truck or you don't have, no matter how much money is or isn't in your bank account, you can't compete with that other individual. And your goal in life, whether it's you as a human being, you as a mother or a father, is to continue getting better at everything you do. Your craft, this trail camera business is better now than it was 4 or 5 years ago. Everything you see, it's just gone. It's gone where it's supposed to be. That's the goal with you. And for us here on this podcast today, we're talking about bow hunting. That's your goal. Focus forward. And just do you as an individual get better. That would be my main drive for that, on that little side note. But back to your original question though, walking around, tromping the woods up before your hunt even starts. Just pick a logical spot, get in there, log some hours and go from there. Look left and right, use your glasses, and then maybe the next day a little further this way or go to a completely new location. I just wouldn't go in and burn that 100 acres up. I just wouldn't do it.
We're gonna the area that we're going to in Iowa. I'm having. I guess the cameras are going to help me a little bit, but I'm having a hard time narrowing it down because there's so much public ground there, and there's so much stuff that we hadn't even walked. That like I have Scott Buckley out there. He's doing a little scouting for me, and he's driving around. He's like, Cameron, you got to check out this piece of public. You got to check out this piece of public. You got to check out over here. We need to get cameras
It's
over
overwhelming.
here. Yeah, and I'm like, well, that all looks good. What do you do to kind of prioritize?
My first question to you is this, because I've seen some that looks like marshland, pheasant ground, with a little couple drainage ditches, not a river system. Is it somewhat even remotely open, or would you say this is some bigger woods with bigger blocks of timber?
It's a big open area. There's a big river system that runs through, and then it's like you have timber along the river, and then it's just open.
Yeah.
So
it's river bottom
assuming,
stuff.
without giving an area, we don't want to talk about that, but you do realize like the extreme eastern side of Iowa, big bluff rolling country. It's a lot different than central Iowa or even southwestern Iowa, those
Definitely.
regions. So let's assume we're going to call what you just described pheasant country.
Yeah.
Little open, little broken.
Yep.
Going to be several mature trees to get out there and get up in. And this would be the absolute first thing I'd do, if you could get there and ride around or do your thing with your phone, pick some spots. Get out there, do your best to get up 20 feet, and use your glasses day 1, 2, and 3.
Yep.
And you know what? You're going to have a grunt tube with you, rattling antlers, whatever the case may be. You just might crack one the first or second day, and it just may work out.
Sure.
That's the luck of the draw. When you drew the tag, now let's hope you get lucky and draw a buck into your stand. But you got to use glasses. You got to look. And I just don't know if I did walk, I'd have my bow with me. Day 2, day 3, you're like, man, these wind gusts are going to be over 30 miles an hour every day. Sleep in every day and start walking all through the middle of the day, way far away, and glass in 700, 800, 900 yards. Go to another spot. Just keep your bow with you. It's windy. You may get a stalk opportunity, and just glass in on your target areas far away. If it was big timber, it's different. But with some of that open timber and just I don't care if it's $199 pair of binoculars, it's something. Just go in there and grit it off with your glasses and pick it apart, and then just slowly start moving in.
Try to find one area that has holding a few deer that you would shoot.
Yeah, and with your glasses, day 1, day 2, and you pick the same stand, you go back to back, day 1, day 2 till noon. Just keep using your glasses. You're like 70% of the area on this checkerboard is in this block alone. I keep noticing movement over there, 300 yards away. Not too hard to figure out.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's just going to be time and the process. over a
Yeah,
period of
thankfully
time.
we have the time.
That's it.
And we also have unique access. We're gonna have a boat to kind of cruise the river. So we're gonna be
The canoe. I mean, that's it. I'd rather just go shoot a so-so deer and put that darn thing in my canoe and live out west of the Mohicans like an Indian always did. I just love that scenario.
that experience.
That's
just seem-
exciting.
yeah, it seems like that's probably we're gonna find ourselves
Yeah.
doing that a lot.
And the game plan isn't that far off from what we just talked about.
No. Yeah.
That's what we talked about.
Yeah,
from
that fits my
the
style.
first
so
time
well.
that we drove some of that stuff
Mhm.
just from the vehicle. Oh, we got this big hill, this glassing point.
Montana,
Like,
Milk River. Just going to set
exactly.
your thing for 2 days.
Exactly.
If you glass for 3 days, you really maybe only need to hunt one. You know what it is?
That's
It's-
yep.
and
exactly.
just have fun with it.
The one thing I want to mention while we're kind of on this topic is, and I guess this will be specific for Cameron. Cameron and I have already talked about this.
Mhm.
And I guess to the listeners, regardless of where you're going, is having realistic expectations. Just because we have Iowa tags in our pocket, listen, everybody knows there's big deer in Iowa. It's a hard tag to get. You wait your time, you put your time in. It's a high dollar tag. We're not expecting to go out there and kill Boone and Crockett deer.
Mm-mm.
No, and that's why we chose this unit too.
Yes. Yeah. It's what happened even last year with you in North Dakota, what happened with me in Kansas last year. Those are the outliers. Like to go kill, 150 plus inch deer, 170 plus inch deer,
It's going to happen once in a while.
DIY on public land, out of state in a couple of days. Like those are the outliers.
Yeah.
That cannot be
It's not routine.
your
It's not-
expectation. Even when you talk, I just interviewed Andy May a couple of days ago.
Mhm.
One of the best bow hunters,
Mhm.
most efficient bow hunters on the planet. When he goes and does these 3, 4, 5 day trips, DIY, public ground, out of state, that's not his expectation. He's going to go out there, formulate a plan, kill a respectable deer, whatever gets him excited. That could be a 125 inch gnarly looking 8-pointer. It could be a 150 inch, 12-pointer with a split G2.
Mhm.
You don't
And
know.
he don't even know what's there. He's just taking advantage of the opportunity, the cards that were dealt with him
Exactly.
for that window. And that's part of that's that test. That's
Exactly.
so cool he does that too.
So I guess this would be my advice also to the listeners is when you're looking at your season, the outlook of the season, you're going through your preparation and planning your hunts, planning your work, is to set realistic expectations. You do you. So for all those guys trying to compare themselves to, the Don Higgins of the world, the guys that are killing Boone and Crockett deer or 200 plus inch deer, that probably is not realistic
Mhm.
for what you're trying to do. So keep that in mind, and it should be the forefront of the mental approach that you're taking into the season.
Oh yeah, and 100%. I set those expectations a long time ago, and that's like I said, that's part of the reason why I didn't want to wait 6 years to go hunt. I just want the experience.
Mhm.
I'm out there for the experience. Biggest deer I've ever killed is 140 some inches.
Mhm.
I'll be damned if I'm passing another deer that is that caliber just because I'm in Iowa. Or I've killed one 130-inch deer in my life.
Mhm.
I'll be damned if I'm going to pass a nice 130-inch 8-point because I'm in Iowa. A prime example, Reese Johnson last year.
Exactly.
He has expectations. He's in Zone 6 in Iowa. You know, he's in the Mecca. Like I think it's a 140-something inch mature 8-point comes in day one underneath the stand for 20 minutes. He's filming it with his phone. He's like, nope, filming it. He's holding out for the 160, the 170 because he's in Iowa.
Mhm.
Never saw a better deer that trip. But he's like, what do? You know, you're in Iowa. It's the first day there. You want to fill your tag on a 140-inch deer? Me, yeah.
Yeah.
I shot
Yeah.
that. I was like, I called him. I was like, what are you doing?
A lot of TV shows, a lot of YouTube channels, a lot of hype. It's easy to watch action-packed stuff over a 2-3 day period before you go and go, yep, I'm doing that. And then you get out there and 40-mile-an-hour wind gusts, 3 days of rain, and can't access the road that you've set your stands on because it's muddy now. You can't get within a mile of
The
it.
B-level roads.
Forget it.
Yeah.
Forget it. It all goes out the window. And then it's like, okay, first nice thing I see. And most people usually succumb, to that. And that's good, just take advantage of what was given to you.
So we have the realistic expectations. We have a positive mindset going into the season. Our bows are tuned up. We're confident. Things start to go bad. Things are like you said, it's windy, it's muddy on the way to your stand. What are you doing to stay positive? Are you taking days off? Are you resetting? I just listened to the Hunting Public podcast about getting out of a slump.
Mhm.
What are some of the things you're doing there to keep positive moving forward when you're in the grit of it?
For me, this would be, like you guys say, you're pretty fortunate to have a lot of time off. And I know for myself, we've talked about it in other podcasts, just wicked, wicked, wicked fortunate to have the schedule I do and set some time aside to do what I do for maybe a 2-3 month window straight solid. And but I can tell you, if I had my week with a weekend on the front and back of that, so I got a 9-10 day window potentially set aside. It can be tough. So that's that individual. Some people get down. I've seen guys all but cry over it. I've seen other guys go, no big deal. I'm just going to go to another spot. I'm going to go for a walk. I'd probably go way off in left field if I'm hunting a couple thousand acres of public ground and go to a spot, especially on those windy days or rainy days. And I'm just probably going to go against the grain of what I said earlier and just go for a walk in an area that I really don't plan on hunting. And I'm just going to go explore with the intentions of looking for a new spot to hunt or
Sure.
get a deer, have my equipment with me, my grunt tube, my rattling antlers, and just stay positive. But I wouldn't really give up. I don't know if would I take a whole day off if I was there for like a 2-week window and I'm burned out after 5-6 days and I know I got a real windy day coming. I'll probably go sneak a 2-hour scout in somewhere because take advantage of them high winds. I can slip around the woods good, and then I'll go back and rest, and then just give it some time. I would say to the guy that's in that 5th to the 15th window, you're not seeing much. Not much is going on. You're running into some parked vehicles. You're talking to a guy or two coming out. They're not seeing much. So if they're not seeing much and you're not seeing much, pretty much an even playing field. My vote of confidence to you is, and it's not playing mind games with yourself to make yourself feel better. I just simply say, it's going to happen sooner or later, and I'm going to stick to my plan and get back in that damn tree stand. And the next thing you know, here comes a chase, and the next thing you know, it's over within 5 minutes, and you watch that 130-inch 3.5-year-old go out there and roll, and you're like, I can't believe this happened. And it's just going to mean a lot to you because you just went through a real low spell. But I just wouldn't give up. You just got to keep digging. There's no way. I mean, let's get all John, what's his name, Brady, the quarterback, down by 4 touchdowns in the fourth quarter and still comes back and win. You just can't give up. You just got to have that about you. And it's easy to say that because a lot of people don't. A lot of people get depressed, or some people, I shouldn't say a lot, but some people deal with it differently. But I wouldn't give up, Cam. I'd go for little walks, or I'd go do something, take a 2-3 hour adventure. I'd maybe even go down the road 30 miles away if there was another block of public ground, see if there's some parked vehicles, looking for some fresh tire tracks where people were parked, or boot tracks, and just go do something different. Take a day off, digress a little bit, go somewhere else.
Sure.
But I wouldn't leave the woods. You're there for a reason,
Right.
and you got to be there.
Yeah.
You got to be there. Now, I will say this, and even this morning coming out, I was talking to a friend of mine from northern central PA that called me. He has no choice. He has no choice due to family and other commitments. He got his Kansas tag this year, and he's going to be on the eastern side. He has to go October 18th. He has to. And he has to be back home for Halloween Day. So he's got family commitments there with the children. And then even after that, they have other things planned with another trip or two. And he's like, what do you think? What about this scrape period? You know, and he does well. He's done well over the years in Kansas and in Pennsylvania. Just a great guy. And I said, well, here's what you got going for you. And I said, I'm not saying this to you with excitement to give you hope. But I said, it's easy to go anywhere the 5th through the 15th and take advantage of that window with deer on their feet and chasing. I said, but what you can do the 18th to the 30th of October, you can't do the 5th through the 15th. They may be locked down November 10th. They may be just whatever. They're off breeding. And all that sign we talked about that you're looking for as a November hunter, now he can look for sign.
Yep.
So that's hope to that individual that's listening to this that maybe is going, we're going to go to Kansas the 15th of October when no one's going to be there on that public ground. Now, it may be hot, it may be windy, maybe pushing 90 degrees, and you got that going against you. I'd be cautious of that. But he doesn't have a choice. So kudos to him, though, because one thing he's really got going for him is those 4 and 5-year-olds that he's going to target. When that cold front comes in, I said, Ben, what if you go there and it's 90 for 2 days straight, the first 2 days, and you're, I'm going to hold off. The high on day 3 and 4, the high is 76 and 77.
Oh yeah, you're in the
So
chip.
that's a cold front.
Right.
That's a cold front for that time of year. I mean, December 1st, it could be a high of 35, and January 1st, it may not be but 9 degrees. That's a whole different window.
Right.
That's a whole different cold front drop for that time of year. And I said, just pay attention. I said, follow the reins when the front comes in and out. I said, that deer around the 18th of October, he's still going to stand up. He's going to stretch. He's going to make those first few steps down off the ridge or out into that flat field in Kansas. He's going to go to scrape 1, 2, and 3. He ain't doing that November 10th. Yes, there's footage and they come in around a tree and a nice buck will hit a scrape and he'll move on, but that's not the norm. So he's going to hunt when you can for any of the listeners, you're going to hunt a deer in the end of October that's still patternable and the cold fronts can still affect him. So you got 2 things going for you for that October hunter that the 5th through even the 15th, 20th of November doesn't have going for him.
Yeah, I think that's for a lot of guys. That's a very big takeaway from like the conversation thus far is if, you're an October guy or trying to get it done in October, taking that trip in October, as that signing phase starts to heat up, there's a whole lot more to take advantage of there based on the sign than, the first 2 weeks of November.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's just reality of it is. And I think as bow hunters, for whatever reason, we're programmed to see that sign, whether it's a big rub or giant primary scrape, November 3rd, November 4th, November 5th, think, oh,
We're
man,
in the chips.
This is a spot. Like, here is the X, that's the tree. And a lot of times it's a mistake.
October 23rd would probably been the perfect place to be.
That's just it.
That came and gone. It's
yeah.
gone.
Other, tracks, different story. I mean, betting, maybe a little bit different story, but yeah. Rubs, scrapes, they can be pretty deceiving. And we've talked about that even with scrapes drying up, bucks shifting into doe bedding around that November 3rd, November 2nd, November 3rd is a little bit different depending on where you are.
100%. Northern Wisconsin versus Oklahoma. It's a different game.
Right.
I get that.
Right. But the concept there is the same.
Yeah. Just be positive. Pick and choose your window and hunt that window accordingly. It is what it is. It's no real science behind it. It's just you got to be prepared for that window. But again, back to just bump on that a little bit. It's just, gosh, don't overwalk it. Don't beat it to death. You're only given so much of a time frame to hunt that region. Don't chew it up.
Sure. Yeah. There's 2 different mindsets you can have when you have a time period, right? And we see this in the Big Wood scenario a lot when we talk about it. So say you have 5 days to hunt, 3 days are past. You're one more day closer to that opportunity coming. So you you
Game
can
of
either
odds.
look at it that way. You're like, oh man, I only have 2 days
It's a
left.
game of odds.
Yep.
Yep.
And so like glass half full, glass half empty. I've been in the scenario, like I always feel like more pressure, more pressure, more pressure. But as time goes on, like if you have a positive mindset, and it's bound to happen, you have the days, and you trust yourself, you have the knowledge, and like eventually it's gonna happen if you continue that positive mindset. If you start getting negative, you start veering from the plan, you start doing things like you're out there not supposed to do, like you said, walking around because you're like, oh my God, I got to find a deer. I still have a tag in my pocket. I got 3 days left. Half my trip is over. Or you've learned 50% of what you're there to learn already, and you're that much closer to making it happen. Like we talk about all the time, and it's hard to keep that mindset and say like, I am 1 day closer now, rather than 1 day further away or 1 day closer to not filling a tag. You're 1 day closer to filling that tag or learning what you came there to learn.
Yeah, to add on that note, I personally, like when you're hunting multiple days in a row, so you have a string of days that you can hunt, it's very easy to get in that negative mindset. And that is why I think it is important to have that, whatever, hunting friend, hunting buddy, hunting partner, road dog, whatever you want to call them, to have somebody positive in camp that you can talk and bounce stuff back and forth. Because from my perspective, and this is just my personal opinion on it, it's a lot when you're by yourself, it's a lot easier to give up on yourself than it is to give up on somebody else. Because, on this Iowa trip, I know Cameron's positive. He knows that I'm positive, but I'm not going to come back to the truck or come back to camp ever and have it and display any type of negative attitude that's going to portray something on him, because I don't want to bring him down. I don't want to let him down. I don't want to alter his mindset. So I think having somebody that holds you somewhat accountable, but also has that same work ethic, same outlook, same mindset, I think pays giant dividends on those longer hunts.
Yeah, because if you're the opposite and you come back negative, and I'm already like, this sucks, you're just gonna have a terrible trip for the rest of it. You're 100%. Done. You might as well go home.
Yeah, I won't travel with anybody like that.
We were out here doing some of the firmware, the cameras and stuff just a bit ago, and I was even saying about you can't have 10 best friends.
Yeah.
It don't work that way. And you were working on my camera there, and I'm like, geez, you just, I said it in the last podcast, and I'll say it in every podcast. Find that circle of friends, find those people that you're comfortable with, and just stay close and enjoy it. Just love every minute of it. And I think, if I'm thinking correctly, the first podcast we ever did, it'll be 5 years ago now at the Iowa Deer Classic, I distinctly remember saying, I'm not in a hospital with a tube down my throat fighting for my life. It's okay. You got tags. We're in Iowa. For those individuals that have that in that 2-week window of their life, it doesn't get any better for you at that moment. And just enjoy it. I know it gets easy to get down, or people get frustrated. And I've walked into a camera going, or you like your flashlight, and you're like, well, I ran out of tacks, but my Jesus stands going. Yeah. So go back to the truck and start over and whatever. So, but it'll all work out in the end. And I do think, again, going to be 50 this year, December 14th. Where will I be? I've never said anything to you guys yet.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Should be. I've got to figure out how to work this out and practice, but I should be, because I think I start the 11th or the 12th. I booked my first real hunt ever in my life. I'm going to be bow hunting mountain lions, northwestern Montana, 70 miles from Canada.
Happy birthday to you.
Yeah, so in advance. So wouldn't that be something to kill a cat on my birthday?
That would
be cool.
But almost lost train of my thought. What was I saying there, though? Where were we at?
You're excited.
Yeah.
You're excited.
But no, just getting older, going to turn 50. That getting down on yourself and being a little depressed part, I'd like to tell you in time that only gets better. You'll be more confident. You don't let things bother you as much. It'll all work out. And that's just part of back to what we said too, is being a hunter, you just pay your dues. And in the last podcast, just keep getting what I thought was 2-3% better every year, 2-3% better every year. And that'll come easier. You'll get better at dealing with that in time. I really do believe that.
I'm sure. I know one thing. If I'm struggling and I'm out on my own, I'm calling you.
I would love it. I'd love it.
It's the most positive guy I've ever talked to.
What else?
So I do have some tactic questions if you're okay with that.
Absolutely.
Okay. So
some rapid fire stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know you've been shooting the MMTs for a little bit. Love them. Outside of our arrow build previously, what was your ideal FOC arrow weight?
I have had that done before, and I will tell you exactly. So right now I'm shooting a Matthews TRX 29.5. And believe it or not, I think I'm only 62, 63 pounds, but I do have the 300s. Now the 350 would be for a lower poundage, correct?
Sure. Yep.
And then the 300s up,
Yep.
but I am
Short arrow.
Yep, or a
yeah.
short arrow.
Yep.
And always shot the gold tips. Yeah, I would say, and to be more specific, what'd you ask again?
What is your the ideal arrow weight for you, and your FOC? Where do you want to be?
I was shooting 430 grains. I would say I was somewhere, like you said, most of these arrow builds are between 12 and 18.
Ours are up to 12, 11, 10, 11,
11
12.
to 12.
Yep.
I'm going to say I hear of them getting higher, but I haven't actually done it.
Okay.
I haven't had 100 grain stainless steel outsert type thing with 125 grain. I haven't had 200 plus grains up front myself. So I get the punch, I get the drive, I get the kinetic, but everybody's got to do their thing. And I'm certainly not here to promote any long distance shooting. That can be a little touchy. And I know guys that do that with them heavier arrows, but I just felt when I was in that 430 to 450 range, life was good. So here's something else without getting maybe into the nuts and bolts, but something I realized. I told you my arrow was, I'm shooting a 50 grain heavier MMT arrow now over my previous gold tip. My pin gaps are closer. And that's where I was doing that video and sent you guys. I go, way to go, George.
Yeah.
Can't explain it, but
Yeah,
it
but
works.
that's that without getting into the details. So what I had with the way the tape was, and if I do shoot this, been doing quite a bit of it the last 2-3 weeks, but the last week with your guys' shaft since I got them, I shoot at 100 yards. And my dial is for that tape on there. I won't move it. I just know the mark. I'm at 102 yard mark before I had to be on 104 yard mark. But I'm shooting a 50 grain heavier arrow.
Right.
But it's a bigger shaft, a fatter diameter shaft versus my skinny one. It's like when it's going up through there, the wind's coming in under it, and that lift is there, and I can't see the arrow flight. I commented on that.
Mhm.
There's a couple things I've noticed. I just can't see my arrow at 100 yards. Once after it's gone, I hear it, and that's it. Just super impressed with them. Not trying to oversell the product. I sent my things to you guys. I was like lately speech. I'm talking to myself on the phone. Then I look at the target. Then I look back, and I'm like, I'm not so sure what to say. I'm trying to figure this all out.
I just laugh when I got those messages.
Yeah, it's all you put the laugh face thing.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm just spanking them, boys.
Yeah, I'm just spanking them. I'm just like, again, I'm pretty darn good at what I do, but back to my 2-3% better.
Mhm.
I am 2-3-4% better. If groups were like this, now they're like this. And when I pulled that arrow out of the target, that was a broadhead, and I didn't change jack squat. It is just different sound, different flight, different trajectory for me on my arrows.
It should be.
With the new
Yeah.
MMTs.
Yeah, they should be.
So the science behind it, without getting into all that now, that's a whole podcast with that. That is it's just impressive.
Not just one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it works.
About 43 now.
Yeah, but it just works. It just works. But that's where I'm at. Something else. So one year I killed a pile of deer, had a pile of unbelievable doe tags, urban tags for in around Cleveland, Kansas. We had umpteen tags then. They don't do that as many now. 13 deer with one specific brand of mechanical. It was a Grim Reaper. And yeah, got it on the day, but yeah, just whatever. It's just what come out of the bag. But anymore right now, short, stout, and want to bust cinder blocks up,
Yep.
put it back in my quiver and keep going.
Sure.
And I'm still shooting mechanical. I'm not against any of that stuff. I know some guys, and you hear that pretty hard against it, but you do you.
Yeah, right.
And at some point in time over the period of 100 bow kills, yeah, there's guys that shoot mechanicals just about everything, but boy, at some point in time, something may give or happen, but that's just part of that. But I just shoot small, stout, 1.125". I probably have 6-7 different brands of broadheads at home.
Yep.
Oscut, Wasp, G5, everything small, solid, hard,
Yep.
tiny
I
points.
remember you came back day at Harrisburg.
I had 3
An
Bag
different,
full of goodies.
all broadheads, $215 just in broadheads. 3 packs, 3 packs, 3 packs. I said, we're going to find out.
All fixed blade.
All fixed blade.
Yep.
100%.
So if you had to put a priority on either speed, having like more speed, or having more momentum, where do you see yourself falling there?
From one extreme to the other, if I had to choose one of the extremes, I'm going with the momentum. But I'm going to pull that momentum back. I want to be about 2/3 of the way across that spectrum, because I know what I do at 60, 70, 80 yards. If I get on a bedded mule deer or something that stands up, or an antelope, it's
So the 430 to 450 grain arrow is the sweet spot there for you.
it was until now. I got
What
this.
is it? What are these?
482.
Oh, these are a little heavier.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But I'm
Yeah.
I'm right at 50 grains heavier, and it's surpassing my old 430.
Sure. So it's probably shooting a little bit slower, potentially.
Yep.
But it's
Out of the bow,
It's
yeah.
Out of the bow.
It's
Yeah.
recovering quicker. But so you have more momentum now.
Now I
'Cause you
got
have-
more momentum.
Yep.
More momentum,
Way to
less
go- way to-
velocity deprivation,
Oh,
Yeah.
unbelievable.
which is what they're supposed to do.
That is exactly what they're supposed to do.
Yep.
Glad to hear it.
Yep.
Okay. Shifting gears a little bit here. So, third week of October, signing phase, right? Would you rather hunt a scrape outside of doe bedding or outside of buck bedding?
Ooh, I'm almost. It's not that it's a tough question, but I'm just going to say outside of buck bedding. I'm at that point in life. I'm going after him. So I was 19, 25, 27. I was there, and I'd walk in and I'd find a scrape, but the hype wasn't there. They didn't even have a cell phone. There was no YouTube to get on there and see how to do it. Licking branch, no one ever said the words. I see a scrape, and different times you're talking to some people. I go, man, he goes, man, I seen a bunch of those scrapes today. Some of them were up this high on that tree.
That's a
Okay.
rub.
Yep, that's a rub. But yeah, to just walk around and find something, and then maybe even go 50 yards down that road and find something, and then go 50 yards down that road and find another scrape. You might put 6 or 7 of them together. And it's not too hard to stand there and look at that road that goes to the left and right and go, there's a cornfield out there, and this goes back up a little draw, and it kind of splits, and there's a little point there, and it's rabbit patch briars up in there, and all those locusts and oaks. I'm going to get as close to that buck bedding area. Or what I think where deer are coming from, will the doe go through and maybe a 4-point? And then here comes maybe potentially a shooter. So I'm going to take this. Maybe I'll put it this way. More than just saying a doe bedding area or a buck bedding area, I'm going to hunt the scrape closest to the cover.
Sure.
That's probably the route I would take,
Mhm.
whatever it may be.
Yep.
Because if I'm new, if this is my first trip into Iowa, I don't really know.
How do
what
you
it is.
discern if it's
Yeah.
buck or doe?
You know,
bedding?
you're going to assume he's up in there, and he's maybe going to they're going to do this and this, and he's going to do this. Something that just hit me that I think is extremely important for all hunters, no matter if you're 20 or 60. One little, again, I wasn't going to talk about tips and tactics, but this is something I would pay really close attention to. You know how you're sitting there at lunch and you're like, man, things are starting to move, getting some pictures, really like what I'm seeing. Been here for 4 or 5 days. It's getting real. But that one, I haven't gone in there. I know I set a stand there, or I can go in and use my sticks and get up, or use my climber. You know how people say, check the wind? Now it's going to maybe shift out of the northwest, maybe out of the southeast. Pay super, super, super close attention. This may be the most important thing I'm going to say today. I don't know how I'm going to say anything more important. What about when it's 15, 17 miles an hour, or even right on the lower end of what I'm calling a windy day, 12 to 14 miles an hour? 20 plus, that's pretty darn windy. That gets starting to get a little rough. And you're like, boy, 3 hours before it starts to drop, 2 hours before it's dropping, and an hour before, it's down to like 4 or 5. Make plans, even if it's an hour ahead of time. Take advantage of the windy weather to get in that stand, and just take advantage of the wind that's making the noise in the leaves and in the woods. Irrelevant of the direction of the wind, take advantage of that wind and go, oh, man, I'm going to be a long set, but I got to get in there at 1:30. At least you're there. And you know how people go, I want to get in there and let the wood settle down. Well, if it settles down for 4 hours, what's it matter?
Right.
If it means you getting that shot. Take advantage of those windy midday winds that are making a lot of noise and get in there and get set. And
I
then,
like it.
And then usually that last half hour, sometimes it comes off so dead calm. I'm almost like, I don't even want to move. I don't want to get
Can't even
down. I don't
breathe.
want to walk
Yeah.
out of the woods.
Right.
That's almost scary calm, but yeah.
So, we've covered this in another podcast, but I want you to kind of hone it in. If you had to, so we're like we said, we're all kind of lucky here. But if someone was to plan a vacation, out of state trip, what dates are you targeting and why?
I'm going right back to what even Jake asked me on the couch at Harrisburg when we did that last
Yep.
podcast.
Yep.
If so, because I think he said the question was if you could pick 5 days and you had 3 years to scout a state, but you could pick 5 days that you're going to hunt in 3 years from now.
Yep.
Doesn't matter if it's this year or 10 years from now. As of right now, you can start a day early or a day late. I'll let you pick that. But I will be in them woods the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th of November.
Okay.
That's just me. That's and it's more likely it's going to happen in the evening, and I'm going to be close to that scrape. I'm going to
Okay.
be close to where he stands up, and I'm talking 600-700 yards deep in some of the timber I'm hunting in Iowa, and for sure in Ohio. It's way more remote than that. And but yeah, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th of November. And to recap something I did mention, there's just a little history with that's made me believe that more and more. 3 years in a row. November 4th, November 4th, November 4th. One was an AM kill. It's about 8:30 in the morning. A good over an hour into good light. Good light. And I seen him with the doe standing over there. Snort wheezed. He wasn't having no part of it. And that's in Bowhunter magazine in the article on mapping out your season.
Sure.
Yep. And that when Snort wheezed and he come over and right to me.
Do those dates change at all if you're targeting different areas of the country?
Oh, I mean, again, as now I'm going to the extreme. If we're hunting Wisconsin or Louisiana, I mean,
Well, sure.
that's not fair.
Midwest. I mean.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's just get Ohio to Kansas.
I'm going to say you're darn close. That's the parallel. That's the 40th parallel going across from like New Jersey to California. That's what they dictate that by.
Okay.
The 40th parallel runs through there. Those dates are darn close.
Okay. Last question here for the rapid fires. What are your favorite trail camera locations for that November period? You still don't have a buck found. You're trying to find one in November. Where are you hanging your cameras?
I'm just big on any type of ditch or washout creek crossing ditch. So if someone got on my Instagram and seen that, and I know you'll ask at the end, but it's Jason Michael 803 on Instagram. I know you'll see me in there with some of those selfie videos, and I'll say you'll see me right in there. It's like an Apache going up through the canyons in Arizona. I don't leave that, and that's where everything's at. And in defense, and God knows, look what Don Higgins has done. I don't care if I get a picture of him at 2 a.m. Oh, he's daylighting. Come on, he's there. And if it's November 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, doesn't matter if it's 11 in the morning or 4 in the morning. I just know he's there.
Sure.
So my job's to log hours. But my cameras will be in a lot of those ditches and drainages, and I don't leave it. I can arrow most all of my deer. Let's start giving away some, like where my stands actually, because not all the country's the same there. I can arrow out of my tree stand when they walk that creek also, and I'm up on steep banks. I'm going through there. You could hide a double wide trailer. You'll hide it. You'll see it in the Instagrams. I'm in there and I don't leave that ditch, and I got 80 acres up here and 200 acres up here. I don't leave that ditch, Cam. I don't do it.
That's something a little new we haven't heard.
Yeah, I just don't leave that ditch. I'm right up on the bank there, 12, 14 yards, and I might be over there 25 yards. And my stands are in that ditch as I go up through there. Because that ditch is, some places it's a washout.
Sure.
So if you walk up through there for 300 yards, there's only 6 or 7 places they can cross. And then take the 6 or 7 best places, put cameras on them. After a period of 3, 4, 5 years of doing that, you're going to pick the 2 main crossings, and it's just a process of elimination.
Got it. Got anything else, Chad?
No, I don't think so. I think we're good to go. Unless you have something else you want to chat about.
Nope. I think that's good. Just again, excited about the arrows. That was all new to me. I don't know if I fully had them a week yet. I don't think.
I don't. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
not
right
sure.
there.
I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't
Yep.
know. Not
But
sure.
just kudos to all you guys on that. That's just a new additive to the company. Wish you huge success with that, and encourage everybody to go on. I just YouTubed you yesterday with the whole build.
Yep.
Let alone, there's the 2-3 minute clips where you're out in the yard talking about it. Then you explain the build, and then that kind of, I get it. I get it now.
That's good. Glad we could help.
Absolutely. Send one of those bad boys
Oh,
through a gnarly old
I'm
bug.
going to do my best. I promise.
I don't doubt
That
it.
will make me happy.
Yeah, I don't doubt it.
Yep.
Well, I guess that's it. We'll get wrapped up. You mentioned your Instagram. Say that one more time. And
Jason Michael 803.
is there anywhere else you can?
Nope. Nope.
That's
I lay low. I stay hidden.
I like it. The Exodus podcast. That's where you can find them.
Yep.
And stay tuned for Whitetail Cribs coming.
Yeah.
Coming
Oh,
here
that's
pretty
right.
soon.
Yeah. Mention that real quick.
Yeah, so we have, I want to say we talked about the 3rd week in September.
Yep.
Yep. So I'll be headed out to film a Whitetail Cribs episode with you. We'll finally get to see all the Jason Michael bucks in one area.
Yep.
Pretty excited about that. So that's coming to the channel in November, I believe. So if you guys like what you're hearing and want to see more, make sure you stay tuned for that episode.
Tease that real quick. A couple years ago. So 20, 30 plus years of bow hunting.
Mhm.
And then all of a sudden, boom.
Oh, yeah.
2 booners in 1 year? Is it-
Close. One was and one was under.
Well, it was right there.
Yeah, so
I
the
mean,
average might be. Sure.
Yeah. But some there's going to be some good stories in there.
There is, and
I'm
I've
looking
never
forward to
really
it.
exposed it because we always joked. You said to Jake at the podcast, did you see his deer he got in November? And this was like in February.
Yeah.
He's like, no, I didn't know he got one. And I know Jake, we talk. So yeah, there'll be some stuff there that you've never realized, never really
That's cool.
seen.
gotta
30
be
years,
cool.
30 years of, and I would throw a teaser out to this. There's not just 20 or 25 Pope and Young deer there. It's just a collection of my life, and it's all right there on that wall.
I'm excited to see it.
Absolutely.
Well, until next time, we appreciate everybody tuning in. If you guys have any questions about any of the stuff that we've talked about, just I guess you know where to get a hold of us.